Now that the party's 15 minutes of fame was finally up, they were faced with an ultimatum. Either start working with the president to go undercover and spy on the mob boss they are working for, or face the severe repercussions awaiting them. Dane speaks for the group, letting the president know that due to their discomfort with corruption, they'd rather work with a literal mob boss than a politician. Andrew Linnell clearly doesn't take that well, and decides to teach the dwarf a lesson. The party were at first confused as to how Andrew's insults towards Dane's mother constituted severe punishment, until they watched their friend literally die from the emotional damage. The party watched their companion, who single-handedly took down an adult dragon with his bare hands, die effortlessly to the president's mere words. Then the party very quickly starts reconsidering their enemy, and starts looking for a way out. Alas, the door behind them has been magically sealed, and Andrew didn't even have the decency to install a single window in his office. The party then tries to summon their big blue friends with the help of their shark fin tattoos. But alas, the president counterspells their reception. Embracing the evil villain cliché at this point, Andrew starts to gloat and play with his food, knowing that they have no way to escape. But just as things look truly dire for the party, Nadar comes in clutch as he remembers Dane's new cloak of useful items and snatches up a magic patch before tossing the rest to Pelin. Evidently not expecting something so unorthodox, the president watches as Nadar suddenly creates an open door in the side of his office, leading down to the street below. Nadar then quickly scoops up his dwarven friend and flies away with him, which would have seemed quite romantic if Dane still had a pulse. Once the Dragonborn zooms right out, the Centaur regains his senses and only narrowly misses the fleeing half-orc with a powerful blast. Lacking the wings that Nadar so proudly flaunts every chance he gets, Pelin settles for using the ladder patch from Dane's cloak to reunite with ground level. Leaving the president with his inability to climb down ladders, the party dash down the night street before the guards can gallop after them. Now realizing that they can summon Dariss, they are quickly reunited with their favourite 8'5" murderous gang leader on speed dial. Saving questions for later, Dariss teleports them out of there, and they all find themselves in his secret hideout. No time is wasted upon their arrival, as Dariss is well aware the party has kicked the beehive too hard this time. Dariss calls for his Kinku healer to give Dane a quick revive, before he immediately opens his personal safe. Inside, the party see quite a fortune, along with a few magic items and 2 different scrolls, both of which he pockets for himself. Dariss then warns them that he needs to rally the Toothtakers and go on the offensive against the Centaurs while they are still momentarily disorganized. Otherwise, they may have mere hours before Centaurs can take out their anger on the whole lower city for the embarrassment the party has caused them. Knowing this is serious, Pelin reveals his wish scroll to the party and immediately uses it to grant the 3 of them the absolute peak of their physical power. Dariss mentally reassures himself that he's still stronger than the party, before the inferiority complex can settle in. Then he quickly marches them all straight to the Centaur Government building. Sure enough, Captain Whitehoof is already preparing his Centaur guards for an assault outside the Presidium, with President Andrew Linnell watching over them. Upon spotting Dariss and his men approaching, Andrew is quick to spew insults towards his mother, desperately trying to buy his guards some time. But Dariss sees through this, and promptly utilizes one of his 2 scrolls, turning himself into an ancient blue dragon. Andrew Linnell doesn't even have time to finish browning his trousers before Dragon Dariss eats him alive, and suffers from the aftertaste. With their leader wiped out, the unprepared guards are little match against the Toothtakers, despite Captain Whitehoof's attempt to organize them. The party, with their incredible new strength, along with a little aid from their freed broom closet kobolds, dispatched the captain almost effortlessly. By morning, The remaining Centaur officials have all surrendered before them, and Dane decides to take a little joyride to celebrate their victory. After riding around on Elliot, without the slightest idea how offensive such an act is to the Centaur people, Dane regroups with the others to plan their next move. Dariss seems shocked at how easy and effective his attack was, having spent years assuming that his firepower had been far more evenly matched with the Centaurs. As he processes that, he begins to think deeply. He almost absent-mindedly encourages the party to take the teleportation circle and go use their new power to live a day of fun without consequences. Too excited at the idea to properly stop and consider why Dariss had proposed such a thing, the party started making their way all around the major cities of Wolen. Several entertaining and chaotic things happened that day, including a trip back to Bristol to check in on Ickle the Goblin. Dane punched the dwarven mayor of Bristol for no good reason at all. Then they visited Debris to throw toilet paper at the Church of Sunlight. And finally, before they pack it in for the day and return to Dale, they can't help stopping by the Magical Emporium to take another look at all the powerful artifacts and magic items. Pelin immediately tries to cut another deal with Rebecca, the Archmage, hoping that he can add the Deck of Many Things to his tab as well. Unsurprisingly, Rebecca isn't interested in letting him purchase the most expensive items sold in the store, while he's still in significant debt as it is. As a compromise, however, she does allow him to pay a significant, yet much smaller sum, in order to purchase a single card from the deck. Pelin is warned, however, that the deck is filled with cards with the power to alter the very world itself. He has a roughly 50-50 chance of drawing either something amazing or terrible. The greedy half-orc paladin takes the offer without question, no doubt believing his gambler's luck will give him a winning card to change his life forever. But as he draws, he sadly learns that he was only half right, as Pelin proceeds to vanish instantly, most likely to never be seen again. The party are left in stunned silence for a moment, processing the weight of what just happened, until a sudden scream comes from atop the stairs. They are confronted by Wendy, the poor old gnome lady, and Rebecca's mother, as she immediately points out the two as allies of Zook when he attacked her. Before they can defend themselves, Rebecca sinks them into the floor like she did to Zook, and they find themselves joining him, bound by magical ropes. Thankfully, Rebecca wasn't aware of the new power Pelin granted them from the Wish Scroll, so they were easily able to overpower their magical bindings. Finding a teleportation circle in the next room of the basement, they very reluctantly decide to bring Zook with them once again, mostly out of pity. Managing to get back to Dale before Rebecca finds them missing, they head back to Dariss's safe house, but not before Zook confronts them over their newfound strength. Zook once again manages to fill their minds with poison, convincing them they should use this power to kill Dariss before he kills them instead. While the party likes Dariss much more than Zook, even they can imagine their Sharkin boss wouldn't want to be surrounded by people stronger than him. So once Dariss hears him arrive back at his safe house, his heart sinks to see his favourite Toothtakers turning their weapons against him, with Zook sneering from behind. After expressing his disappointment at their betrayal, he simply takes out his remaining scroll, which turns out to be another wish spell, and immediately makes an unspoken wish. Then, instead of attacking either Dane or Nadar, he teleports behind them with the clear intention to finish what he started, and kill Zook for good this time. But seconds away from a horrible death, Zook manages to cast a risky spell despite all odds, as though fate itself was protecting him. Managing to cast a commanding spell just in time, Zook forces Dariss to drop his teleporting warhammer and his belt of cloud giant strength. As Dane and Nadar are still in shock of what just happened, Zook wastes no time equipping himself with the belt that makes him incredibly strong, so that he can lift Dariss's warhammer. Then, with a gloating look to his fellow party members, Zook teleports away to Green Tully, left unchallenged in the world with power far beyond the Staff of Fire. He begins to plot what he could be capable of, now that he has the means to pursue even more items of incredible power, and eventually wield the full power of the magical Emporium itself. Then he could truly bring the entire world to its knees. Meanwhile, the spell fades from Dariss, yet the Sharkin does not seem nearly as concerned with what Zook could be capable of as the worried Dane and Nadar. Instead, he informs them of two things. Firstly, he now knows he could have attacked the Centaurs any time recently, and easily claimed Dale for himself. With the ability of hindsight, he used the Wish Scroll to ensure he could go back and fix his mistake, without changing anything else, so as not to undo all the hard work and sacrifices he's already done to make it this far. Secondly, he made sure both himself and the party will remember what they've done here, the betrayal they've committed, and as such, he recommends they start running the second they get the chance. The confused Dane points out they don't need to run, as they are still stronger than him, especially now that he's lost his items to Zook. The Sharkin smirks, then simply encourages them to do what they came here to do in the first place, and kill him already. Feeling a touch of guilt now, but believing himself in too deep to back out anymore, Dane swings his axe before the kneeling Dariss, and with his new power, is able to cut off his head in one foul swoop. But just as soon as he does, the whole world turns white, and Dane, Nadar, and even Zook all find themselves back in the familiar Faces Tavern. Zook looks to them in horror, as the blood drips off the knife in Zook's hand, and the dead Sharkin lies before them. Then, as a flash of purple reaches under the door once again, they hear the terrifying words of Dariss. "You better start running, boys!"